Good evening, welcome back to the Motorcycle Fixer channel. Sorry I haven't been with you for quite a few weeks now, but I've been working away. I've had to go to Mexico with my day job. Hopefully I can get back on track with the videos now that I'm back, although Christmas is in a couple of weeks and it's freezing. Okay, so without further ado, let's move on. So now it's time to refit the barrel now onto our piston. Okay, as always, it's going to be plenty of oil now on our piston skirt all the way around the rings. This is just the 10W40 engine oil, so as I normally use for when I assembly engines. So all around the piston we're going to put, and all around the rings we're going to put this 10W40. Make sure it's well lubricated because you don't want a dry startup. Okay. There we are, we've got it all, every part of the piston, or the outside of the piston, is covered in oil. I'm going to drip some oil down into the bottom end bearing as well. I'm going to squirt a load of oil down into there as well. There we are. And then we're going to lubricate the cylinder. So we're going to put oil in there and we're going to rub it all and make sure every part of the cylinder is covered in oil. You want to fill up the cross hatching really inside the cylinder. So I've cleaned all the cylinder out, made sure it's perfectly clean and spotless, and so now we want to fill the cross hatching up with oil again. So you just want to give it quite a lot and just rub it round, obviously with clean fingers. Make sure every part of the cylinder wall has oil on it. Okay, so that's that. Then I've got my base gasket on. So then we go into place the barrel down onto our piston, and then we're going to squeeze the rings in. Is that the best angle for you? Probably not. Let me... Okay, maybe that'll be okay. So you need to make sure now that the rings are in right into the grooves, so that the cylinder goes down on the rings and not, because when you push the cylinder down, if the rings are not in the groove, you could snap the rings, and that's the last thing you want to do, is snap the rings now, especially since these BMW rings are very expensive, like 70 quid or something for a set, which is amazing really, but okay. Right, I'm going to just get a little screwdriver then, and we're going to just make sure that the top one is in enough for us to drop the piston down over it. So there we are. Okay. Don't put any pressure on the barrel. Basically, you don't want to force it down. You just want it to slide in. There's a chamfer on the bottom of the barrel, so that the rings naturally sort of fit into the chamfer once you get it aligned.
So like I said, just don't force it. Just okay, that's the first ring in. Not broken, so hopefully this one will go in a little bit easier. Maybe baby, because it's a bit more aligned. Okay, we're nearly there. Down to the oil rings, and the oil rings usually just push in. But don't put too much force on it. Don't put too much force on it, because the oil rings are very thin and easy to bend. So there we are. We should be able, now we've got to that stage, we should be able to push our barrel down onto our piston, and there we are. The next job on this BMW engine is to clean this head gasket face. We're going to clean these carbon deposits off, and then we're going to take the valves out and change the valve stem seals. If I take a head off, I always replace the stem seals. We're just going to clean all this excess paint off all the way around. You don't need to see me doing that. Now we've cleaned our head gasket surface off. That's much better. Now we're going to use our valve spring removal tool. And what you want to do is you want to put this rounded end in the middle of the valve. So let's do let's have a look which way round it goes. That's our exhaust port, so that's in the front. So let's do our inlet port first, just so you want to put the rounded part of that in the center of your valve, like so. And then you need to flip it over, and you need to wind the valve spring removal tool down onto the center. What you need to do is remove the collets that hold the valve spring in place. So I just check that that's still in the center of my valve, like that. And then what we'll do is we will wind that down until the collets are available. Once we've compressed the spring enough, we're going to get our magnet on a stick, and we're going to pull out the collets, the little valve retaining clips if they come out. And they're really stuck. So there we are. Loosen them up, and we remove the two clips with our magnet. And then we wind our spring compressor off. Like so. Then we can remove the spring retainer, our spring. Usually with the valve springs, the close the close springs, if you know what I mean, where they're close together, they go at the bottom. Okay, when you're replacing them. That's on all bikes, well, all the ones I know so far anyway. So the tightly wound spring goes at the bottom, and then it's not so tightly wound at the top, look. Now you can just push the valve out, and there's your valve. And these valves, you can see, are really clean. They're not coked up really at all. I know these are the inlet valves, but there's hardly any build up on that side of it either, so I think I'm just going to clean these with some brake fluid and they should be okay to go back in. And there's our valve seal in there. See the green valve seal in there? So to get that off, I do have a valve seal removing tool. Now to remove the valve seal, so I do have a valve seal removing tool that looks like that. You can do it with the pliers, although it's always easier. This is just pliers, so you can do it with the pliers, like so. It's just easier with a valve seal removal tool. But there we are. There's this valve stem seal. You ruin them when you take them off. You can't reuse them, so you've got to buy new. Okay, and that is basically it. Now what you've got to be careful of now, right, is in there's the seat for the spring, and it is loose. Once you take the spring out, it will fall out. So when you turn your head back over to do the other valves, then you might lose it. So always make sure that you know where they are. I usually take all 4 valves out, then take the seals off, then replace the seals, and then these don't fall out. But I'm just showing you one. I don't need to show you all 4. So that's it. Okay. I'll carry on now and do the other 3, get those out, clean the head, and then we're ready to rebuild. I just recorded me doing the torquing the head nuts and bolts up with the music on, so I'm afraid you missed that part. The next thing we need to do is to put our buckets and shim in. So I'm just going to oil around where the buckets sit, and I'm also going to oil the buckets. I'm going to have to put the buckets in and the shims in the same way as they come out, and so shim first obviously, and then the bucket needs to be a nice sliding fit. If it doesn't slide, then it'll stick and the bucket will break, and then you're in all kinds of problems there. So we're going to put the shim in there, and then we're going to oil our bucket, make sure that it's nice sliding fit. Just put the other 2 in the same. Once I put the buckets in, I like to oil around the rims of each one, just to make sure that they are lubricated first time that they go up and down, up and down. Now we're going to fish our chain up through the tube. My magnet is snapped off, so I can only push it down so far. So if I get a screwdriver at the bottom and push it up to meet the magnet, that would be good if I can do that. There we are. And then we're going to pull our chain up through. There we are. Okay, you just want to make sure that it's still on the bottom sprocket. That was the reason why we left the outer clutch cover off, if you remember, or the inner clutch cover actually, so that we can make sure that it's still on. Okay, so I put a screwdriver through that there now to hold it in place. We need to fit our front chain guide. So obviously the flat bit goes towards the chain, sits right down into the bottom. It does only fit comfortably one way. It doesn't actually seat in anything on the bottom. It just seats in the top here. So that's that. Next we want to put the bottom cam journal in. You need to make sure that it's spotlessly clean before you put it in. And it goes this way round. It sits on those hollow dowels there and there. Okay, so you should be able to just push that down nice and flat. Oh, that sounded a bit as if there was something between it then. So let's just make sure it's thoroughly clean. This way, if there's any dirt between there, it will affect your shim, your valve clearances. So there we are, that's better. Nice clean click. So now we can oil these journals and put our cams in. Plenty of oil on the journals. Make sure that there's no like bits of anything in there. You just want lots of oil there and there. There we are, I've turned the camera around now so you can see. Now our cams need to go in and we need to put the chain on it. So this is our exhaust cam with the auto decompression lever on it, and this is our inlet cam. Now when you set up the timing on these, you need because we know it's a top dead center, it's locked at top dead center with our bolt in the bottom crankcase. The crank is locked at top dead center, so we know that. So you want the cam lobes pointing this way on this compression stroke, okay? So with the cam lobes pointing this way, you want the marks on the cams, on the cam sprockets, pointing or level with this bottom cam journal, yeah? So you want them horizontal like that. Then it's just a matter of putting the chain on and getting the cams to stay in that position. Easy. Easier said than done, more like. Okay, so let's put them in like that and just see what that's like. No, you can see now that this one is okay, it's horizontal, maybe a little bit out, but this one is one tooth out. Can you see the marks on that? Maybe if I zoom in a little bit. The marks on this one now are not horizontal. That one's turned. This one is more or less horizontal, so we're just gonna move this cam around one link like so, and then we're gonna put it back in like that. Oh no, I moved it the wrong way. Just testing it also. So let's move it 2 links that way then. Like that. No? Another link. Need to move the cam, not the chain. Remember that. There we are. Okay. Oh, and this one's moved now. Because the chain's been going this way, it's moved the cam that way, okay? So, it's not a problem. Not a problem. Just remember not to rush. The more you rush, the harder it gets. What I'm doing now is I'm pushing, if you can see, I'm pushing the screwdriver now into where the cam chain tensioner is, just to see if it's right under tension. So you can see then that these sprockets, the lines are not horizontal, so it needs a bit more work. So now this one, the inlet cam is not far out, but this one is still a couple of teeth out, so let's try that one. No, it still looks another tooth out, doesn't it? Yeah, don't do it like that, because it's pulling that one, and you need to move the sprocket rather than the chain. That's further out than before. They're both out now, in fact. The secret is not to give up. Okay, that one's not bad now. In fact, I think I'm happy with that. It's just a matter of getting the back one right now. It is fiddly, but it's just what you have to do. So if we drop that back in, it's going to turn a bit. Yeah, too far. A bit more. One more. Ah, don't pull that off. I don't know if I moved one on yet. No. That one did. Right. That's as close as we're going to get. So you can see that these teeth, these marks on the sprockets are more or less level with the top. Okay, so that's your timing done basically now, because you know your crank is at top dead center. Okay, and now you know your valves are set on the compression stroke. Okay, so what we need to do now is to bolt our top cam journal on and make sure that our shims, our valve clearances are right. Like before now, this is our top journal, and as before, it is very important that these cam journals are spotlessly clean, because if you have any debris in there, it will pick up on your cam. The cam will destroy this aluminium, and I wouldn't even know if you could buy them anymore. So it's very important that this is spotlessly clean, and the face as well. Make sure that there's nothing to pick up on there. Again, you want to oil, put some oil in these cam journals. In there, and then make sure that this goes on the correct way round, because I think it only fits one way anyway. Need to put our 8 bolts in these. There is a tightening order on these. Like on the, I think it's the Yamaha, it actually got numbers on it, which was the one I built last, KXF. The KXF is actually numbered with the tightening order, but this one doesn't have the number order on it. Come on, BMW, better than that, surely. So there we are. There we are, they're all hand tight. You only want, I think it's like 10 Newton meters on these. So I'm just going to do them diagonal, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the same on the front, like kind of 1, 2, 3, 4. The most important thing is that your cams, after tightening, your cams need to be loose. If they are pinched up in any way, then you will ruin the cam journals. So like I said, it's about 10 Newton meters, so you just want to nip them down basically. Make sure that our cams are still nice and loose, and then just make sure that they are nipped down. I mean, perhaps they haven't numbered in on the BMW because they don't need to go in any order. Next we're going to put our chain tensioner in. When I took it apart, I thought it was an hydraulic chain tensioner, but it's spring loaded, and then the plug pushes on the end of it to keep the tension on. There's an aluminium crush washer on the plug to stop it from leaking. So you just slide in our chain tensioner, and then as you can see, spring loaded, so we'll just put our plug on the top, and then that keeps our chain tensioned. Last thing to do now on this engine is to check the valve clearances. Let's put that holder up for the camera. Valve clearances are on the inlet valve 0.03 to 0.11 millimeters, and on the exhaust valve 0.25 and 0.33 millimeters. So get our feeler gauges and find our 0.05 feeler. Might even have a 0.03. Let's have a look. No, I got a 0.04. So the 0.04 feeler gauge, I don't know if you can see it. Oh, there we are. 0.04 feeler gauge should really go in between, betwixt and between the inlet cam and this bucket. So there we are. We got that, fits through there nicely. So then what we want is a 0.11 feeler. Shouldn't go in. So that's, I don't have a 0.11, but I have a 0.1 shim. If you can see that, I have a 0.1 shim, and that shouldn't go in. So let's see, and that goes in, and there's quite a bit of room between that as well. So on this one we need to add a bigger shim. And I'm going to adjust the shims on these, and what it says in the BMW manual to do so that you don't lose your timing is to cable tie the chain onto the cams, which I've never done before, but actually is a really good idea. And then if you do that, they'll go back on the same way and you won't lose your place. So that's a good tip that I've learnt from the manual. I'll put a link down below for a previous video where I show you how to set the shims and the valve clearances, and it's exactly the same on this engine as it is on other 4-stroke single cylinder engines. It's all the same. So if you want to see how to do that, then go to the link down below. Once I've done the valve clearances on this engine, that's all that's left to do, is to put this chain guard on the top on here with our 2 bolts, and you don't need to see me doing that. So if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It's really going to help my channel out. YouTube, show my video to more people, if more people like it, obviously. Please consider hitting the thanks button if this video has really helped you out. Hopefully this next year, 2023, I'll be able to put more content up. I've got a lot of projects still to do, so stick with me. If you've got anything that you want me to do, let me know, or if you live close enough and you want me to fix your bike, then please let me know, and then I'll make a video fixing whatever you want me to do. So with that, I hope you have an awesome 2023, and I'll see you next year. Thank you very much. Bye.